Good afternoon. Welcome to MSK Innovations. We're really excited for today's event. Before we get into our presenters and our panel, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's event, which is Orthopedics This Week, accelerating orthopedic breakthroughs by fostering connections within our community of surgeons, researchers, and industry innovators. Today, we have three companies presenting: OsteoCure, Turner Imaging, and InkWell Health. On our panel, we have Robin Young, Matt Likens, and Chris Lyons. We'll give you each gentleman a moment to provide a quick introduction before we get into our presenters. We'll start with you, Chris Lyons, joining us from New York. You're on mute.
Thank you, ma'am. Got it. All right. Chris Lyons, CEO of Southern Metrics Consulting. I'm actually coming in live from the Piper Sandler Healthcare Investment Conference in New York City, and excited to be here to hear and discuss the presentations and the technology.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Been on the panel many, many times. We'll turn it over to Robin Young. Not his first time on the panel either.
No, thank you, guys, and it's terrific to be here. I'm the publisher emeritus of Orthopedics This Week, and I'm working right now on my newest venture, which is the Research Cooperative, and having a lot of fun. But actually, what we're doing in this MSK Innovators meeting is really, I think, what I enjoy doing most: hearing new ideas, meeting new companies. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks for joining, Robin. And our last panelist of the day, Matt Likens. Matt, take it
Yeah,
away.
thanks, TJ. So I'm working out of Mesa, Arizona, in the East Valley of the Phoenix area. Background J&J for a few years, and then 23 years with Baxter Healthcare, blood collection, transfusion medicine, dialysis, immunotherapy, a lot of different clinical diseases, and then three startup companies, two of which I was CEO and have been successful. And now I'm advising early stage, mainly medical device companies that are evolving here in the desert. So having a good time doing that.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. Now, before we jump into our first presentation, just a quick note. MSK Innovations is not a broker-dealer nor an investment advisor. This venue is for informational purposes only and not to be considered investment advice. Conduct your own due diligence prior to any investment. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Hunter Newman at OsteoCure for our first presentation. Hunter, take it away.
Thank you, TJ. Just make sure everybody can see my screen. I can't see you, but give me a yes, that'd be great. My name's Hunter Newman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of OsteoCure Therapeutics. We're a Duke University spinout and J Labs company really focused on accelerating bone repair while simultaneously inhibiting pain. What I'm going to talk to you about today is our innovative combination product. So it has both a device and a drug component, and we're hoping to go down the device-led path to, again, accelerate bone healing while inhibiting pain. And the opportunity that we're focused on, and many of you on obviously this call will know, is the bone injury or fracture or fusion or all the healing aspect of the injury. So we all know there's a lot of injuries that occur across the globe annually, almost 200 million, and they're significantly costly to the U.S. healthcare system. And we really divide the patient's experience up into two main aspects. There's obviously the healing aspect, which is what we all focus on, and most of the orthopedic surgeons focus on. But what the patients remember the most, and if any of you have injured any of your bones, it's the pain aspect or the recovery process, where orthopedic pain causes the highest prescription of narcotics among all surgical specialties. And pain medications such as NSAIDs, even opioids, have potentially the ability to negatively impact healing and lead to what we have in the top panel here, non-unions, which are the failure of bones to heal, about 5 to 10% of all injuries, fractures. And they, again, are costly to the U.S. healthcare systems. And we believe that the current treatment options for these patients are inadequate, because how do we treat the patient's pain without negatively affecting their healing? And the current treatment options, the main one obviously is autografts. It's the gold standard, where you have bone harvested from a non-working portion of the body, such as ipsilateral hip, then placed in between the fracture site and the poorly healed site. There's disadvantages with this, even though it's the gold standard, including multiple operations, increased risk for infection. In terms of pain, it actually increases the patient's pain, where 30% of the time patients experience up to 2 years worth of pain at the donor site. So sometimes the pain at that donor site is longer than the original fracture itself. Of these three kind of buckets on the right hand side, have tried to displace the gold standard for the past 50 or so years. Allografts, obviously, you limit a lot of the issues that you see with harvesting the autografts. However, the cadaver bone has been shown to underperform autografts in every manner. So if the surgeons have the option, they're still going to go with autografts. The next bucket are the biologics. I put BMB2 here as that was the main driver in this space. However, most of the products in this space, even though there's a lot of potential in the synthetics, they're all recombinant proteins. They're delivered usually at the uncontrolled release and have side effects such as bone overgrowth, ectopic bone formation, and even some have come along with black box label depending on the indication. And lastly, the third bucket are bone stems, which gained popularity in 2013-ish timeline. However, the past decade of research has really shown or questioned their efficacy, and that's why most insurance companies rarely cover these products anymore. And it's only approved for Jones fractures currently for reimbursement. So we think that overall, there's better treatments to be had that are able to simultaneously address healing, be actually best in class for healing, but also inhibit pain. And the way that we're going about that at OsteoCure is focusing on the natural small molecule of adenosine, naturally occurring nucleoside, part of the ATP pathway. And the reason we focus on adenosine is because it plays a key role in bone health and metabolism. It stimulates osteoblastogenesis or bone formation. It simultaneously inhibits excessive osteoclastogenesis. It initiates early vascularization, but it'll simultaneously inhibit pain. Now, if it's such a great molecule, the question is, why has nobody ever used this before? And the answer is because the half-life is less than 10 seconds. So adenosine is so rapidly consumed that it's not there for a prolonged period of time to have a significant effect. Well, at OsteoCure, we've developed a unique delivery system that's able to concentrate adenosine at the local injury site and deliver it for over 30 days instead of it being gone, usually in the body, increased amounts within the first 24 hours post-injury. So what we've developed is a unique boronic acid delivery system that I call it the Goldilocks of drug delivery, where we're able to load adenosine, deliver it or release it. If it's not consumed or needed by the cells at the injury site, recapture it and then redeploy it. So we really concentrate adenosine at the fracture site, but we also prolong its bioavailability delivered for over 30 days. And we created it with orthopedic surgeons, an injectable product that doesn't impair or impede their typical operation. And it can also be customizable to how they want to use it. They can use it by themselves. They can inject it with other materials they use. They can mix it with putties or bone cements. It's really dynamic in that manner. And what we see is that when we get adenosine to the bone site or at the fracture site for a prolonged period of time, we see significant effects. This is a quick summary of data for a couple of studies, but we see that when we treat these animals, were able to significantly accelerate the healing timeline. So these are mice treated with or without the adenosine-loaded gels, 21 days post-fracture. And you see that the group treated with the adenosine, the cortices are already lined and already being remodeled, where there's still a lot of callus and resorption that needs to occur in the untreated site. And again, these are healthy animals that are typically healing well at 21 days. So we're accelerating the whole healing timeline and create significantly more bone. Simultaneously, we're able to inhibit the pain, where we're actually showing we're able to increase the amount of weight that these animals can bear on their fractured limb when we treat with our adenosine at 2 days post-fracture without any other pain medications, almost double that compared to the control. And we show mechanistically that we're able to inhibit the pain reduction back to the DRG and the spine. So we really have a unique aspect in our product where we're able to be inductive, induce bone formation, and simultaneously inhibit pain. And we're really comparing ourselves and our competitors to the combination products that are device-led, such as Medtronic's Infuse, right? Medical's Augment or Therapeutics I-Factor peptide. None of these products can currently treat pain. So we put ourselves in a unique spot in the marketplace. And because we're a natural molecule, no matter how much we deliver or where, we can eliminate the ectopic bone formation and the side effects that are typically warranted with these products. Because we're a small molecule approach, not a recombinant protein, we're actually a lot cheaper to manufacture. So we can either decrease the price and have the same margin, or have larger revenue model with our product. Obviously, we're a combination product, so the way we're going after becoming a device is to mimic what Medtronic, what Infuse and Augment have done, and go after bone grafting procedures. We believe that the quickest path to the market is actually foot and ankle fusions rather than spinal fusions initially, but just because of the 6-month primary endpoint versus a year in patient enrollment. So that's our initial our initial focus is to get a foot and ankle fusions as our first indication. But then we believe this product is widely applicable to a lot of other indications in the foot and ankle, Jones fracture, dental implant, obviously spinal fusion. But the one that everyone's also interested in is sports medicine or closed fractures, which there's currently no product since we don't risk ectopic bone formation. So that's a unique opportunity we're excited about going after. In terms of IP, this is all out of the Duke University, but we have the full license from the university of all rights inside the US as well as outside. We're in the final office action. These 2 main patent families focused on bone healing as well as localized pain. And we're a small team now, but we're currently raising to build out our team. Right now, it's myself and my co-founder, Shani Verghese, who's the vice chair of orthopedic research at Duke, and myself, where I did my work on this during my PhD and also worked at a venture fund to kind of gain experience in creating a company. We have some key advisors who you'll know well in the space. Ken Gall, who's the founder of Restore 3D, as well as we have advisors in the foot and ankle space, such as Sam Adams, obviously for our first indication, and then John Dickens thinking about military applications. And we're looking to raise $3 million to get to first-in-man studies, which mainly include product manufacturing, tox stability studies, and our large animal bone healing model in a sheep model, and then as well as building our team together. So with that, I can't see anybody, but I'll take questions if you have them.
All right. I'll jump in if no one else does. Real quick, one thing I like your focus on ankle fusions. I think that's a great unit to go after. It's nice and targeted. You know where you're going. I've got 3 basic questions. It'll be real quick. What is your clinical study plan?
Yeah. Sorry, did you say preclinical or?
To get to market, what do you have to do to get to market in terms of studies?
Yeah, so we're looking for our preclinical to do large animal studies first. So looking at, we're doing some safety studies as well. But for large animal efficacy studies in an ovine model, a fusion model specifically, working with Colorado State on that. And then we plan to do our first in human studies for a foot and ankle fusion. So we're looking to do maybe about a 20 to 30 patient study, and then we're going to do a pivotal study looking at comparing our product to autograft as the gold standard.
You're going to use autograft as your comparator?
That's what the other products have used. I mean, we could think about using Augment.
Don't overcomplicate it. It's good.
Yep.
Time to market, time to commercialization. What do you expect? Assuming you get time.
Yeah, so assuming we're in money, looking at our timeline, we're hoping to get to market around 2032.
All right, great. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Chris.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead, Chris.
Keep getting muted, but I don't realize I'm muted. So, Hunter, good job.
Thank you.
A couple questions that I had is, what is the mechanism of action relative to the molecule that is actually reducing the pain? How's that happening?
Yeah, so adenosine is actually binding. I mean, here's kind of a summary slide, but adenosine is binding in the sensory neurons, the peripheral neurons, is binding to the A1 receptor of those peripheral neurons, and then it's actually not able to activate the peripheral neuron activity back to the DRG in the spine. So when it binds to the A1, it's not able to have enough excitation to get the cascade of pain sensory.
Okay. And the second thing I had was, are there any other technologies that are already using adenosine in the space?
Not in the space. So I will say a couple things. Adenosine has been FDA approved for tachycardia, which a lot of people might know on this call, but that's given and then not delivered. It's just a pure pure form IV burst doses of 6 to 12 milligrams to kind of reset the heart. So we're localizing it, and we don't see, no matter how much we deliver, a systemic increase in plasma levels. We're not going to affect that. Adenosine had been tried in clinical studies for chronic pain systemically. They passed phase 1 for safety, but they didn't pass for moving forward in efficacy because the half-life was so short. And that actually gave us the idea to look at it as a local effect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Chris took the question as far as the pain. I wasn't quite clear why that had happened. I'm wondering what the JLabs connection is.
Yeah. So while I was at Duke, we always have strategics that are look at the University at IP, and J&J DePuy had expressed interest while I was a student. So then following spitting this out when I graduated, we applied to JLabs, and I have a specific DePuy mentor and DePuy team that's obviously they're a little bit separate from J&J now, but we've been a member for about a year and a half. So they've been advising me on indication and thinking about manufacturing as well.
Great. And have you talked to them about investing as well?
So JJDC, most of the people know that they don't invest until it's the earliest they usually invest is the Series A, or thinking about first in-man trials. So that's usually the earliest point of what they'll come in.
Okay.
So they're interested in, but looking at the next stage.
Curious about the royalty relationship with Duke. I assume there is an ongoing royalty.
Yeah, so I mean, in our we have certain percentages depending on, since we have a wide applicability in different fields. Human ortho is a certain royalty percentage. Veterinary is all a certain different royalty percentage, as well as dental. It's kind of broken up into 3 aspects. Duke has a little bit of ownership in the company, as well as milestone payments once we get into clinic or hit the market, both in the US and outside. Happy to discuss those more over a CDA, of course, but yes, a small amount, but they're a supportive amount, I would say.
Great, thanks.
I have one question from the audience. Any thoughts on use with osteoporotic fractures, or even to increase bone formation without a fracture? I mean, pretty interesting, very interesting technology.
Yeah, so I will say, to answer that question, before, when I applied to present, we were just focusing on our medtech product, but Eli Lilly's actually pushed us looking at osteoporotic fractures. During my PhD, I put these in nanocarriers and actually reversed osteoporosis. So adenosine was able to, when I delivered systemically and target the bone site, I build bone back to healthy levels. So we're actually developing a pharmaceutical product as well in the company. That's more in the newer stage, but that's what we're focused on right now, because we're able to see reversal of osteoporosis. So we know in bone health in general, adenosine is really important. You just need to be able to deliver it effectively.
Great. All right, panelists, got time for one more question if anyone wants to take one.
So do you feel confident in the event of an exit or approaching an exit, that how are you going to take care of the connection with Duke? And the reason I ask that is because a lot of times this comes up with the large strategics, that they just do not want any university ties to IP.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this is recorded, but Duke is pretty favorable. Duke will always hold on to the IP in terms of, like, when we're licensed it as a small company. Like, they give us the assignee, they give us the rights. They don't change the assignee. With when they are looking to exit to a large strategic, they are a little bit more flexible on that. You all know Ken Gall pretty well. He's dealt with Duke and exits before, and it's actually when the time comes to people getting checks, things are a little bit more flexible, and they're a little bit more friendly. They've changed it over the years, Chris.
Okay,
so
that's good to know.
Got it.
Yeah.
Robin, it looked like you had one question. We can.
Yeah, real quick. So as I'm looking at this business and technology, I keep asking myself the question, is this a need to have or a must have? And the key thing that drives that decision is how big is the pain point? that you are solving in the marketplace. So as you look at this market, and no pun intended, what is the most pointed, big pain point that you can solve?
Yeah. Um, so I think the pain point is getting patients back to return to activity, return to sport as quick as possible with the reduction in the amount of societal burden thinking about pain meds. I think that's the biggest point that we drive home, plus the decreased risk for using synthetics with surgeons, especially if they're using products, as you know, like if they're using them off label, we're eliminating that risk where we can think that, problematic healers, we can reduce the amount of non-use. Obviously, the way you go after that for a trial is a little bit differently than a use case. But when we talk to surgeons, with no risk in adding pain reduction, plus we actually have new IP. I don't have the data on it, but adenosine bolsters antibiotics and helps prevent infection. It's almost like, why would you not use this? Is what we've been kind of told when we're developing it. But hopefully that answers it a little bit.
No, very good. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Great presentation, Hunter. Thanks for joining us. And with that, we'll go on to Chris Tahansky at Turner Imaging for our next presentation.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
We got it.
Okay. Well, so I am not Clark Turner. My name is Chris Tahansky. I work with Clark and the senior team at Turner Imaging on a fractional basis in a business development role. Clark is not able to join us today. He's at the radiology conference, the RSNA, so I'm presenting in his place. Thank you all for taking the time to hear the story. Okay, so Turner Imaging is currently pursuing a $2 million Series A extension round. This is a price round. We currently have about $750,000 remaining in that round, and we're going to follow that by a $20 million Series B, and we hope to have completed in Q1 2026. And we have had some investor discussions with Series B investors, and the goal of the financing is to accelerate product growth, scale revenue, and grow internationally. I'm going to be talking to you about all these images of our products on the right-hand side. So let me just jump into it. So just a little bit about the evolution of radiography. We started with film-based radiographs. We went to fixed-mounted systems, digital, and then we went to portable, and now we're moving to ultra-portable. And this product on the right-hand side, the Enduro DR, is a product that the company launched last year. So it's a natural evolution of X-ray imaging, bringing it to the point of care. In addition, fluoroscopy, otherwise known as the technology is typically referred to as C-arms. That was started in the 50s, and then the devices became more mobile over the years. And Turner introduced in 2020 what's called the Smart C, which is an ultra-portable fluoroscopy system for imaging, primarily orthopedic procedures. And we're focused on extremities, so hand, wrist, foot, and ankle primarily. So what's the problem with existing C-arm technology? They're very big systems. They have to be kind of rolled around typically the hospital or the ambulatory surgery center. They weigh a lot. Typically, they're used in conjunction with a technician. And so it limits their use of where they can be, where a physician can image a patient. And so the value proposition of the Smart C is its ultra portability. It's very lightweight, Wi-Fi enabled. It uses pulsed fluoroscopy, so it has very low levels of radiation. And it can be used in a host of care settings. And the idea is to bring the technology right to the patient. And so with the Smart C, you can do anything from making an initial diagnosis or doing fracture reductions, surgical procedures, foreign body removals, joint injections for pain relief, and post-surgical follow-up. We eliminate the need for the rad tech. The physician can typically do this on their own, right in the patient's room, in the clinic. There's really no downtime if a product needs to be repaired because it can be shipped back. We could ship something in the next day. We do sell service plans and disposable drapes with the Smart C. This is a small sampling of our current customers. So we do sell into the hospital and ambulatory surgery center market. We sell into orthopedic clinics, podiatry clinics, professional sports teams, which includes also selling into the sports programs at universities. And then a number of orthopedic manufacturers are also our customers because they use Smart C in their physician training labs. So just a quick snapshot of where the company is today. Companies since 2020 have sold over 425 units of Smart C. About 85% of that business today is in the US and 15% and growing internationally. Company expects to end the year at $7.5 million in revenue and should be break even on an operating basis. We have three important partners. Siemens sells Smart C in the US on a non-exclusive basis. They've been a partner since the product's inception in 2020. Antech is part of the Mars family entity that is in the vet business, and so Antech is the imaging platform for the vet business in the Mars portfolio, and they are now selling Smart C and EnduroDR into the vet business. And RadNet is a $6 billion imaging center. They manage imaging centers. They're our largest investor to date, and they bring a lot of technology capability and market knowledge, and they have a seat on our board. Company has now, I think, north of 17 employees, headquartered just south of Salt Lake City in Orem. We have an 18,000 square foot facility where we assemble the products and have a distribution center, customer support, engineering, what have you. The management team is proven for sure. Clark Turner is a serial entrepreneur. He started a company called Redex, first handheld portable X-ray unit for dental use, and he sold that business to Danaher at a nice multiple. Tom and Mike, the engineering expertise come from OEC, which is a GE division that sells C-arms. Tim is a fractional CFO, and Rob is a seasoned executive coming out of the X-ray market. So quickly for 2026, EnduroDR, this is a product that we launched this past year. It really has new opportunities for us to go into home health, veterinary, and urgent care. And the technology is ready. We just need to scale it. So we need to invest in it, small investment, but it opens up a very, very large market. Importantly, this is a whole body imaging system. It's a still image. It is not fluoroscopy. It's only for customers who need still images. But it's very complementary to Smart C, and that's why we invested in this technology and launched it last year. Moving back to Smart C, some very creative physicians figured out how to use the Smart C in the NICU for certain cardiac procedures. They can fit the Smart C right in the incubator. And so we have a handful of customers currently using this for off-label. We do have a variance letter from the FDA, and we just need to do some testing and invest in that so that we can start the market Smart C for pediatric applications. And this is also going to open up a fairly sizable new market for the company. In addition, we are currently pursuing a next generation Smart C. This is going to be a whole body Smart C. So the military has invested in this. The Air Force invested initially a $750K grant, and now the Army has invested $1.7 million, and we're in the middle of that grant with the Army, and they're looking for something that they can forward deploy. And so, there's clearly a significant market opportunity selling to our military and military around the globe. And so this is a project that we have currently ongoing, but we also see a significant opportunity for Smart C in a commercial setting for things like orthopedic pain management and what have you. And so really what's happening here is the military is de-risking our efforts with Gen 2, but we need to make a significant additional investment to get this to a commercial stage product. And we feel that it's going to be a 2-year development cycle until we can bring this product to market. So a significant piece of the 20 million is for this Gen 2 product offering. And you can see here that it's a very sizable market that we'll be able to pursue. And so if you look at the total market opportunity, the X-ray market is 16 billion. And if you look on the right-hand side at the pieces and parts, the Smart C, the NICU, the Enduro DR, and Gen 2, it's over a $5 billion market opportunity. And that's not even counting, which I show below, the veterinary market. So this is a very sizable opportunity for the company. In terms of the product roadmap, I mentioned NICU. We are expanding internationally. We have a handful of distributors in Europe, but we're only scratching the surface internationally. We had good demand and good growth there, and we need to continue to pursue that. Enduro DR, we need to invest so that we can further pursue the home health, of vet, and the urgent care market, where we have not been significant sales to date. And then we have both the Gen 2 military and Gen 2 commercial efforts in terms of wanting to launch those products in 2027 and 2028. So in terms of making money, how do we exit this? Well, there's a number of strategics out there that could potentially buy the company. If you look at the lower right, there's a couple of companies that are imaging based that have gone public through a SPAC, and they're trading at very healthy multiples. So even if you take a haircut from those multiples at current valuation, what we're looking for in the Series A extension and the Series B, we think that investors coming in now could make a healthy return. So why invest? Experienced management team, key strategic relationships. We believe the technology is proven. We just need to scale the business, and we've been capital constrained to date. So we just need a modest investment. We do feel we have a very robust product pipeline that's going to significantly expand the market opportunity for Turner Imaging. This is me. As I said, I work with the company on a fractional basis in a business development role, closely with the senior management team. And if you want to just click that QR code, you'll be able to track me down.
Great presentation, Chris. Thanks for taking the time to do it. And with that, we'll open it up for some questions. We've got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say real quick, and I'm not going to steal Matt's question this time. I'm going to do everything possible. The question I had is, are all versions of this, there has to be a little bit of a cannibalization of a prior version that could happen. I know you're talking about the utilization of Smart C, in a static form, and then Enduro, even a smaller version, which I love the idea of taking it down, but then it seems like with the full body, you're taking it back up in terms of size and whatnot. So how do these, you mentioned complement, but is there a cannibalistic effect to each new version that's coming?
Yeah, so thanks, Chris, for the question. So Smart C today is only used for extremities. So there's a certain segment of the orthopedic market that we target today. We can't go after spine. We can't go after the pelvis right now. It's not enough power, and the field of view isn't big enough. So we're really talking about two different markets for Smart C and Gen 2. And then with Enduro DR, this is really for customers who don't need fluoroscopy. They don't need video X-ray. They just need a still image. It's a much lower price point than Smart C. So we're able to offer two products that offer two different solutions to customers.
Okay, thanks. And did I understand correctly? Smart C was actually launched in 2020?
2020, yes.
Okay. Because I know I've seen it at conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And what I was going to ask is the percentage of revenue that you expect to be at by the end of this year, which looked like 7.5 million. What percentage of it is coming from Smart C?
Yeah, a vast majority, Chris. We only launched Enduro mid 2025. We have taken some orders for Enduro, and we have a pipeline of opportunity for Enduro, but we haven't really significantly marketed the product yet. So most of the effort here to date has been with Smart C.
Okay, Cool. Thank you.
I have a basic question. Is there IP protecting this?
Yes, yes, there is. There's both issued and pending, multiple issued and pending patents. There's also know-how, and in terms of how to make the device, and that was on purpose not to patent it because we didn't want to give someone the recipe on how to do it. So, a piece of the IP is know-how.
Okay, and just a second question. The business model currently is totally through distributors or partners, Siemens and I'm wondering, is it a capital sell? And is there any razor blade business as a result of selling the capital?
Yeah. So a significant piece of revenue today is capital. And while we do sell through distributors both in the US and Europe, we also have a very small direct sales force, and we want to incrementally grow that sales force in the US. We need some capital to do that, to hire some new direct reps. And in terms of the disposable or recurring revenue, it's service contracts, rentals. We do offer a lease. We do have disposable drapes, surgical drapes that customers reorder. So about $1 million of the $7.5 million today is recurring revenue.
Thank you.
So I like everything about this company. I'm sorry. The imaging at point of care, are you kidding me? That is the market. You're ASC friendly. You run on battery power. You have Wi-Fi built in. You're portable, and you've already landed a bunch of customers. So I'm moving past the traditional questions of, do you know it? And by the way, all you guys are grizzled veterans who know your market thoroughly. And I'm looking at you and hearing your answers, and then you're dissecting this market brilliantly. So I love everything I'm hearing. So the things I would ask you are, given you've been around these many years, you're also experienced, I'm going to move to another set of questions because I would analyze you in a different way. And I would, by the way, be immediately predisposed to putting money in you guys. I would. First of all, what's your gross margin?
Yeah. So we've been growing the gross margin to the mid 40% range this past year. And that's grown considerably since the product's inception. We have increased gross margins every year. Keep in mind, when we're selling through distributors, we lose margin, and a strategic would not lose margin. So we think, at acquisition, we can be north of 50% on the Smart C, and I would tell you on the NICU product, we can be probably north of that because there's no competition in the NICU space for Smart C. And with the Gen 2, this is going to be highly differentiated. So again, I think this is going to be a much higher product margin.
Gross margin is low.
Yeah, for now it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you making your own product, or are you buying it from somebody else?
So we assemble it in Orem, but we buy a lot of parts and pieces from other manufacturers for sure.
Is there any way you can get that gross margin up to north of 50%?
Absolutely, we can. Yeah, and that's our target is to get north of 50%. Yeah.
Okay, where can you go?
I would say if we think about the company over the next 3-4 years, and you're thinking about adding in NICU and Gen 2, I think we could be 60%.
I mean, that's brilliant. Can you keep your distribution cost at 20% or less?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. All I want is perfection, man. Can you hit 20 or less?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I can see the sweat starting to come down. I can tell.
So Robin, my other question was, it's almost like an embarrassment of riches as far as the various customer groups that you have. And one or two of them has to be more valuable than the others. And I worry that there's not enough focus now. It's kind of trying to be everything to everybody versus a couple of narrowly focused sales efforts and really penetrate a market. So
Yeah, Matt, great point. So clearly the medical education and the professional sports and collegiate sports markets are smaller markets for us. They were largely our beachhead in the early years. But increasingly, we're seeing sales in the orthopedic physician offices and the ASCs. So that's where the larger markets are, and that's where we're going to need to focus going forward.
Okay.
One last thing, real quick, is what year are you expecting to obtain 50 million?
So, part of it is we need the capital to grow. So
Yeah.
once we have money in the bank and we can flip that switch for scaling the business, we think we're 4 to 5 years out from 50 million to exit. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Awesome. Great presentation, Chris.
Okay,
If
thank you, everybody.
yeah. Please reach out to Chris with any additional questions. And now we'll jump into our final presentation of the afternoon or evening, depending on where you are, with John Matthews at InkWell Health. So let me bring this presentation up.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. TJ, Drew, thanks very much for this. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So a little bit about me. My background is all orthopedic sales. I started with DePuy J&J, and well, they weren't J&J yet, but DePuy in the early 90s. Got recruited to Wright Medical, the Canadian country manager for many years for Wright. Then got pulled into the U.S. And when Wright sold off their hip and knee business, I helped Microport start their global company. So I ran around the world doing that. And then I got recruited to a company called Canadian Hospital Specialties. We got them to an exit. And with that, with those funds, I started InkWell. So what is this crazy thing? Well, imagine if you could use this little sticker or a temporary tattoo to monitor a patient with physiological data. That's what our patents, we have 4 patents covering this technology. And basically our patents involve using markings, not expensive sensors or things like that, but markings on the skin, a post-op bandage, compression stocking or sock, or even clothing for that matter. And our computer vision algorithm can measure the movement of those markings in 3 dimensions and can tell you swelling, which is really hot in orthopedics right now, range of motion, so true endpoint, how far you can bend and straighten your leg, and temperature. And so for the patient, that's a pretty big deal because they want to know how they're doing, and our app scores them based off the recovery criteria that a surgeon or a clinic puts in it. So they can get a score, they can see how they're doing, and they really love that they feel like their patients are monitoring how they're doing and they're crazy engaged. For the clinician, there's significant value in using data to prevent complications. Many of you know that value-based models and payment models are coming back very quickly. And they include the post-acute spend, including the physical therapy spend. And so if you can have data to see how a patient's doing, and you can see here very quickly, you can go on a clinician portal. The blue dots are this patient's flexion measurement or how far they can bend their knee. The blue shaded area is a meta-analysis of the literature of what that should be. Green is swelling, orange is how straight they can make their leg or extension, and black is self-reported pain. And of course, if there's a temperature alert, if the knee's over 102 degrees Fahrenheit, our clinicians get an alert on that. And if we have time in the question period, I can show you some really fun slides on patients where we've actually caught complications. But another big value to the clinician is there are codes that the clinicians can get reimbursed for using this technology. And we've proven over the last couple of years that clinicians can get reimbursed for these codes. And we've done a lot of work where we've really developed a lot of expertise in how to implement a remote monitoring program in a practice successfully and how to bill for these codes. And oh, by the way, CMS increased the reimbursement and added 2 new codes in 2026. So it's been a pretty exciting time for InkWell while they're decreasing reimbursement for surgery and other things. So we've got some pretty good momentum with that announcement. And of course, it is a medical device. We are on the market and generating sales in the US. And we started with, and we only have the knee tattoo right now, but we're testing a foot and ankle tattoo, a hip tattoo. We can very easily expand this market or expand into different product segments or procedure areas. and really accelerate growth very, very quickly. And I'll talk about outside the US in a minute as well. Our go-to-market model is as simple as our tattoo. We essentially, for now, have been using my network of surgeons, but we also are building a very strong distribution pipeline of orthopedic agents and distributors. And so our goal is effectively to target orthopedic clinics right now, especially outpatient knee surgeons that are at an ASC. But we basically sell our technology to that clinic, and they either then can submit for reimbursement for the codes with the payer, or they charge the patient directly. We have two models, which I can talk more about in the question and answer period. We have a base model where they pay for the technology, or we have what we've really evolved over the last 2 years of gaining expertise in this market is our PT model, where we actually can monitor the patient for a clinic, and they can bill for all the time that we put into their patient to help them achieve better outcomes. And I'm really proud of this slide. Although you may not be wowed by the numbers, this is one person, and me, but over the last 2 years, getting a product to market, a medical device to market in 2 years is pretty awesome. Doing all the quality manual, the validation, the testing, and launching this product about a year ago. And over the last year, we've done a multi-center clinical study led by 3 clinicians in Michigan. We were able to prove that patients like the app, they use the app, and more importantly, we proved that they can get reimbursed from it. And lastly, as we publish that publication, the next one coming will be to show how the data can be used to prevent complications like a manipulation, where they take the patient back to the OR to forcibly bend and flex, straighten and flex their knee, and surgical site infections. And in our clinical study, we also prevented 4 emergency room visits with 100 patients. And that's one of the biggest things I hear from payers that they want to try to prevent in the post-acute spend. And so we're raising $1.5 million to really accelerate sales in the US, but also accelerate sales in the UK. I wasn't looking to go outside of the US at all. Of course, focus is incredibly important as a sales individual and as a startup, but we had a very large 54 private hospital chain. I probably gave it away, but we have a signed letter of intent. We have an agreement, and we're launching in January. They approached us. They wanted InkWell exclusively. They want to reduce the post-acute spend and really use this to market to get more private patients. And so we're really excited about that. So just over 200 grand or around 200,000 will be to launch in the UK. And that'll be a significant sales increase of about $1 million for us next year. Ultimately, they do 16,000 knees, but they want to help us expand this to all other procedures and areas of the body. And most importantly, we're using this to get me some help, hire a youth sales lead and hire a operations lead and implementation specialist so we can really accelerate. You can see here, really accelerate the US sales. And then I'm getting lit up by foot and ankle doctors to launch this for the foot and ankle. And we're testing that. I've got one on my leg right now. We're testing the foot and ankle tattoo. It's ready to go. And we can quickly launch that as soon as I can get some help, because I can't be in the UK and the US at the same time. And so again, this is a great team. It's a strength and our weakness. There's just not enough of me, but we have 2 great orthopedic surgeon founders that have helped us strategically guide the company and fund its start. I've got a brilliant chief technology officer. He's an expert in computer vision. Some of the things he did and developed for the US military is phenomenal. We've got an awesome fractional CFO who was with me at CHS, has bought and sold hundreds of companies. And we've got a couple advisors now, but Andrew is probably one of my most valuable advisors. And as you may or may not know, he was the global head of recon for J&J. So I think I hit the 8 minutes, TJ. But again, we're raising $1.5 million to really accelerate U.S. sales, expand in the UK, and get to an exit. What I believe will be in a short period of time. So with that, I'd love to discuss InkWell further.
John, that was just about a perfect 8 minutes. Well done. We'll open it up for some questions now.
I'll get started. I'll jump. So first of all, I'll start with what I like. It's such a simple, slick technology. It's really clever. The economics are clear. I love that the economic argument is just, and you have the reimbursement codes, bam, 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 revenue per patient. It's great stuff. I love the high patient compliance. You're about what, 60, 80% compliance? Is that what it is?
87% of our patients make enough entries so the surgeon can bill the codes.
I've never seen 87% compliance in this industry. And the data has clear clinical value. So one thing I would, and I come right back to studies because I love those. So are you planning any studies that are going to quantify how it affects patient outcomes and how it might affect clinic revenue or has affected clinic revenue?
Yes, our first study was really focused on, showing the world the technology and showing the compliance and the patient satisfaction. So the patients rated the app a B plus or better, which was great, and our compliance was phenomenal. With that study, though, we had 6 patients, 4 where we had a manipulation where we showed the data is very clear. It's in the appendix slides, but we can send those out after TJ. But it's very clear that those patients were caught by the data early. But the next study, we're looking to do 2 studies actually coming up. We're just working on them now. One is actually use patients with and without physical therapy and looking at the post-acute spend there. And another study is looking at actual patients, monitoring the swelling and motion of patients before surgery and after. And that'll be very, very interesting. And so those are our next 2.
2 follow-up questions. When a clinic says no to you, why do they say no?
They typically say no if the reality is, Robin, I don't get no's very much. Where I get the no is on the implementation side, where they're just so busy that they just don't have time to even take this on. That's why we came up with the PT model so that we can do it for them. And that's really now sped everything up incredibly for me.
Yeah. And the second one is, how cheap is that thing to make and how good are your gross margins? Because that looks pretty cheap.
It's pretty cheap to make. Early on in our company, our biggest cost was, I had myself and some PTs helping me onboard the patient, but we're automating all of those onboarding pieces with automation videos and all that. So our margins are significantly increasing every month as we automate more and more of the process with AI.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know if John can clone himself because I love that sales growth.
That's what we're looking to do.
But I am more on the commercial side again. Distributors are a blessing and a curse, right? And so I think sometimes you have to start with them just because you have to preserve cash and you pay them for what they sell. And ideally, your margins are going to make up for that. But at the same time, is there a plan to just go direct? And do you have contracts with distributors that allow you to become more autonomous in the future?
Yes, all of our contracts allow the autonomy in the future if and when we so choose. First and foremost, I have a lot of experience managing distributors. That's what I've done all my career. So I actually love doing it. And I think
you need to have more gray hair then. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting a little light up top.
Okay.
But yes, right away next year will be to hire a critical sales leader and then the implementation and operations people with that person to really speed up. Our longest part of the sales cycle is implementation. The doctor says yes, and then with me being a one-person show, I've got to either get there or do it all remotely. And really, we onboard the scheduler, the PA, the biller, and then we help them with their first surgery, and they're good to go. So we've been using distributors over the last few months and agents to really speed up, kind of help me be there in person, if you will. But you're totally right. Once we get this US person place and start to accelerate, then we would have, local specialists that would be our feet on the street that can use an agent to basically get in the door.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thanks for that. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, very good. Very good presentation, John. And it's pretty slick. I've got a couple key questions. Back in the earlier portion of the slide deck where you showed the data points versus the metadata, like curves, was that actual for you guys?
That was an actual patient. Yes.
Okay, so my question would be this. It looked like, all the different dots that were on there for range of motion and temperature were pretty much in the normalized zone. Am I reading it correct that the swelling was below what the metadata shows?
In that patient, yes, that was. I'll give him great credit. That was Dr. Wickline. His swelling is some of the lowest that we have of all of our 19 clinics. It's phenomenal.
That's an interesting data point. He's Tennessee, right? He's Memphis, right?
Dr. Wickline's in upstate New York.
Okay. Never mind. Okay, the second thing is with the PT model, and back to Robin's point, I like that, and I like the price point for that. But what's happening in the background to be able to handle that sheer volume of patient data that's coming in? Is this a totally electronic driven AI system, or do you guys have to scale with a lot of human capital?
No, that's what I was saying earlier about, early on, it was a lot of, we were testing the algorithm and using humans to kind of monitor. Now we're building AI algorithms to ultimately combine the intricacies of swelling, flexion, and pain. There's orthopedic surgeons that you'll all know it. Yeah, I know that patient with pain and swelling and poor flexion. There's absolutely a correlation between those three data points. And we're using AI to actually do all of that for the clinician. In fact, Jimmy Chow he says all the time, I set it and forget it. He sets his portal to notify him if there's an issue or if the patient's off track or on track. And so he loves that. And we're using AI to minimize the human burden. In fact, we were 3-4 people early on. Now I have one care navigator that helps me manage all the patients. And so that's great. And we're using, really excited what AI can do to kind of, help automate pretty much everything that we do.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. The last thing I had was relative to, it sounds like foot and ankle is going to be the next launch.
Yes, hip is way easier, but there's not really much data on where and how a hip swells, but foot and ankles, there's lots.
Right. Okay. And when does that hit next year as a rough estimate?
We've been testing the foot and ankle for a while. There's a group of surgeons in Dalhousie University that have been testing it. So we're probably going to be able to launch it in January, assuming I can clone myself in December.
Okay. We'll hope for that for you.
Me too. My wife might not like that, but that's okay.
No, it's like two of you. No.
So, John, you mentioned you're I think in the deck the patents have been submitted. Any idea when there'll be actions on them?
Oh, yes, they're all at the PCT stage. So we had one patent instantly granted by the US, which rarely ever happens. So that was awesome. And that's using the dots on a shirt to measure respiration. So that goes to show you the art that's out there. The other two patents, we have a patent that covers it on the stocking and socks. That's been issued in 12 countries now. And the physiological patent is the most recent one that I submitted, which is a tattoo. That's at the application stage at the US and Europe and several other countries.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So real quick, I had mentioned earlier in my introduction that I'm organizing the research cooperative. That's actually a data monetizing platform. So down the road, John, I want to talk to you about that data because I think I can monetize that for you.
I would love that. And the board is all over me about that specific subject. So would love your help, Robin.
There is no platform right now that can monetize data for anybody. And that's what I'm building with the co-op. So
love it. Love it.
Now we have one question from the audience, and it is these three. How do we get the pictures? How does a patient take the pictures?
Really, really easy question. So the app is really a way to get to the patient's phone. We coach the patient to get in their ice position. They hold the phone like this. It finds the QR code. It finds the tattoo like it's QR code and takes the picture for them. There's a video on our website. Super easy for the patient, and that's why I think our compliance is so high because we made it so easy.
And then what's the expected wear lifetime of the tattoo?
The first tattoo lasts about 2 to 3 weeks, and the patient goes home with an envelope. I have one right here that has 3 backup tattoos, and that usually gets them to 2 months.
Okay. And then they wear it continuously, right?
Yep, they'll put it on. Our app will send a notification, hey, you need a new tattoo. They have wipes. They take the old one off and put the new one in. And I didn't mention earlier, our algorithm has evolved significantly. We now use all the dots to measure the circumference now. And so we used to have to calibrate an old tattoo to a new tattoo. And now we don't have to do that because every tattoo is its own unique measurement of circumference. Which is really cool. We're confidentially, we've submitted that for a patent as well. That'll be our 5th patent.
That's great.
Very cool.
Very slick.
Any questions from the panel before we wrap up here?
No, great job. That's really exciting.
Have you thought about, yeah, it really is. Have you thought about creating a tattoo to remove tattoos?
Well, yeah, not yet. But what we're looking to do is we can actually now, with our new algorithm, we can turn the tattoo into a logo. Henry Ford could have its own tattoo. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh man, there's nothing. Well, by the way, did you say confidentially earlier? You realize this is going to be over the internet, right?
Well, that's I think the only confidential was the letter of intent, but it's now signed, so I'm okay with that.
Okay, whatever.
So I did have one more question based upon what you said. You had a hospital group that wanted use of it exclusively.
Correct.
And so what, it's a little more color on
Oh,
that.
sure. That's the letter of intent, and that's the UK. So I wasn't looking to get outside of the US at all, but this is such a significant opportunity. It's in the UK, so it's all
exclusive to you.
Gotcha. I was thinking of a hospital group in the US or somewhere else.
That's
Where,
all.
why would you want to go exclusively with any?
yeah. I wouldn't do that. I've had some orthopedic companies talk about exclusivity, but it's too early for a talk like that. But for this was all this is like too good to be true in the UK. It's such a it'll put us on the global map. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Super.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, John.
Great.
Great presentation. Thanks to Chris and to Hunter as well, and to Robin Young, Matt Likens, Chris Lyons. Thanks for joining us, and to the audience as well. Please reach out to the presenters if you have any additional questions, or to myself or Drew at MSK Innovations. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, holiday season. Happy New Year. We will see you January 7th for our next event. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, TJ.